Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for Foam Stamps 101, the series. Today we are going to make shapes and doodle shapes, but I did want to show you a little bit of what I did at the end of last week. Last week we did corner stamps, and this is what our corner stamps turned out like after they were stamped. These are very large so that you could see them easier when I did them, but also corner stamps, I normally make them fairly small, just like for the corners. You can do the same type of thing though. I showed you how to make them line up so that they make designs, so that you can get designs in the center and you can make like a whole tile type look. Here, this is a different one that I did. And see, this is the corner stamp right here, which you could use in a corner. Well, actually, if you look at it like that, that would be the corner. But if you look when you stamp them together, the types of shapes that they can make. And it's a very cool project. I believe the title was Corners Aren't for Corners. I had seen that on a Create and Craft show a long time ago. And their corners were made to put together to make tiles. And so ever since then, I have made lots of my own corners, and a lot of them I make to line up so I can make tiles out of them. So you can check that out on last week's show, but I wanted to show you what happened after the camera turns off. I do get distracted, so I'll get to the shape stamps here in just a minute. But we used our own paint pad last week instead of an ink pad. And this is just if you don't know, a Dollar Tree drying mat that you get it wet and then you put your paint on here and spread it out. We had purple, blue, and then we had a light blue shimmer paint last week. So when you're done with this, you can't rinse it in your sink. You don't want to rinse acrylic paint down your sink. So I always put about a ½ inch of water in one of these tubs, and then I take this and I put it in there and I just rinse it and rinse it and rinse it and rinse it till it no longer feels like it has much paint in it. Squeeze it out really, really well. And then I do wash it in my sink after I really make sure that I have it clean. So, and then the water that you have rinsed this in, you want to put it in like clumping kitty litter and throw it in the garbage. Or if you live out in the country and you want to throw it out in the woods, that's what I do with it. But before I throw it away, I use a lot of it to color paper. And so last week's paper, the first thing that I usually do is the very first one is here somewhere, but anyways, you'll see it. I just take it and leave it there. I put the paper on there, press it down, move it over and press it down again, and you've got colored paper. So, and then I do things like just take it and fold it up somehow and make like swishes and like little, all different types of shapes. And it just makes nice background paper. And in the camera, you're seeing a lot of white, but there really is not much white on here at all. There is some very light blue and really light colors where the shimmer paint was, because it was a super light blue. But this whole paper is covered. So this one kind of looks a little bit like a check. And so this one is just the straight colors. And so it's just fun. And at the very end, I wanted to have a few like little swirls. So I went ahead and I folded the purple in half. Then I folded the blue in half, made them just kind of line up at the top here. And then I folded the light color in half. And then I just held onto it like this. And I just went all the way around. And that way I got all of the colors in my little circles. And this is my favorite from this week. I really like the way that one turned out. So, so you can get a lot of background papers for your projects, or just starting papers. A lot of people say background papers, but they don't necessarily, they are the start of whatever project you're working on. So, and then I rinse, after I've done those with the wet paint still on here, I take this, I wash it in the thing, and then I take the water and I put some papers in. Now I only had some folded papers on my desk, so I went ahead and just put those in there so they have a little fold in them, which is kind of cool because it collected extra paint where the folds are. And it really has some shimmer to it from the shimmer color. And it kind of came out a kind of a blue-gray, purpley blue-gray, but those turned out really pretty. And I like how those were. This is the one where I just put it right on the paint pad and came up with the color there. So, and then these two I put on top of everything because I needed something for dripping, to catch drips. And the reason that I had drips was because I made some colored thread. So I now have this purpley gray color. It has a little bit of shimmer to it. The shimmer though is coming off. But I didn't leave it in there really long. I could have left it in there longer, but I didn't. So they're not super dark. I want to just kind of get things done with that day. But I did these two, I think I kind of put right in and out. And then this one, I think I let sit for about 10 minutes or something while I was picking stuff up. But the longer you leave them, kind of the more color they'll kind of soak into them. And I should have got them wet first. That's a really big thing whenever you're staining, like, and I don't know this for sure, but for me, this works the best. Whenever you're trying to do anything with paint and to stain something, get it wet first, because then it has soaked up that water, and it just makes it so that when you stick it in your paint water, it actually soaks that up even better. I don't know why it works that way, but it does seem to work that way for me. So anyways, I wanted to see how the paint water works, because I have made colored threads before. This was just a big spool of embroidery floss, and like not floss. It was like this, one of these. And so I got a great big one of these, and I just went ahead and turned it into some hanks. And so I thought, I'm going to try and stain some of those. So I went ahead and soaked them, and then I dry them by putting them like on a skewer, and I just put them on the skewer like that. And then what I do is I stack up a whole stack of books so that this is not touching the ground. And then I put a heavy book on top so that, you know, it holds it nice and straight out there. And then I just put a whole bunch of these on here like that, and just let them drip onto something. I put plastic underneath, and then put some paper, because the paper I may want to use. I did actually have a couple of them that for a while, I think it might have been these two, I just let them set on the paper, and then I hung them up after, a little while after that. But they made these kind of really cool marks on my paper. I think that those are really awesome. Looking at it as the whole, it doesn't look so great, but if you just look at like just that part, that really is a pretty awesome. To me, it kind of looks like an oriental type fish. But yeah, to me, I really like that shape if you just kind of take into account just that piece. This can all be used for collage and other things too. But the one thing that I wanted to know is, because I have not dyed any kind of fabric or string with the paint water. I've always just used it to dye paper. I have dyed with, this is with Inktense. These are with Inktense blocks right here. And then these all along the edge and this side, they are done with food coloring. The food coloring was much more brilliant and everything. And I liked it a whole lot better. So then I did find out, though, that when it gets wet, I now call this my staining thread. So other than the Inktense, they don't really run. But all of these that I did with the food coloring, they run. So, and there may be a way to make them not run. I don't know. And I really don't mind, because I really, really like the staining thread. I'm mixed media. So I like things that are just different and that they act different. And I kind of like things that I don't know how they're going to turn out. So, so these are just some little swatches that I did, that I had just put a little ring of this thread on and got it wet. So this one was just a whole bunch of different little colors there. I think it was after I did these, I rolled them together and got them wet again. I think, I'm not sure. It's been a long time. So, but anyways, this is my staining thread. And I wanted to just show you that I used it to actually do an embroidery piece. And I really, really like how that turned out. After I did all of the embroidery, I did embroider underneath this ribbon rose with some of the blue staining thread. That's why it is, why it did run out here, because the ribbon would not have run, and I wanted to have some of that color seep out under this rose. this one was done with the ink tints. I did that on purpose so that I could see, you know, like the difference between the two. And, you know, it did not run at all. I didn't know if it would run a little bit or what. It didn't run at all. But honestly, compared to, and maybe it's because I like this orange color better, but I do like the blues and purples. I like this one better than I like this one. To me, this is just a plain old flower. To me, this is very interesting with all of this color that has seeped out of the staining thread underneath. So all of these were staining thread except for this, and then I did use the ribbon on top to see what that looked like with the stain coming out underneath it, and I really liked the way that that turned out. So to me, I like the staining thread. I'm happy I made it, and that's the thing. Like when I made it and then I tried it and it ran, it was like, oh no, now what am I going to do? Like, but the thing is that if you have something that doesn't turn out exactly the way that you think, that's the whole point of, number one, you play with it and see what happens. So once I actually decided that I was going to see what it looked like if I tried it, I loved this. And to me, I would prefer to play around with this than with just plain old thread. So I think that it's fun. I kept my staining threads and I will keep them. I did go ahead and I got it wet, and then I took a piece of paper, or this is a piece of fabric, and I put it on top of there and squished it and everything. I even used afterwards, I did a piece of paper towel. But I like the way that this one turned out too. That's a very abstract floral. I like it. You could even then embroider on top of it with regular embroidery thread. But I like the way that that turned out. So that's just kind of my style. So it's all about style. So if you are going to dye your flosses with food coloring, that's what can happen. And so just be aware of that. But if you, there may be a way to make those set, but I didn't figure it out. So, but I'm glad I have those. But I thought, let's see what happens with the painty ones. So this one's a little bit darker. Let's just see if this runs or not. So I just want to pull some of this off of here. Okay, that should be enough. And then I'm just going to wrap it up like this. And I like the way that you get a very, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's very variegated. So we've got dark spots, light spots, even lighter spots. I really like how that turns out when you stain your own threads versus just a solid color. I like using the variegateds much more in my projects than I do a solid color. So even the variegateds, like I even buy variegateds because I like to use them. But they're kind of very even when you buy them, like a certain amount of you know, and then it, like, it's all the same length. Whereas like these ones, they just turn out however they turn out. So let's take this, and I have a piece of paper towel here that's wet. I'm going to put that on there, and then I'm going to get it even wetter. I'm going to get the string wet. And we're going to see if the paint water, at least this set of paint water, see if it runs. Ooh, that's really wet. It just dripped. It doesn't. It does not run. There is no gray on there whatsoever. Maybe some shimmer, although I don't really see any shimmer either. But there we go. So the paint water you can dye thread with, or whatever this is, embroidery string, crochet thread. I think that's what they call it. But you can dye that with your paint water along with dyeing paper. So that's even another thing. So you could, if you can dye the thread, you could dye fabric, little strips of white fabric. You know, if you buy a sheet, a white sheet, do you know how much you can get out of there? You can get strips, you can get, you know, you can get, dry up this water I squeezed out of here, like background squares for doing a journal cover. You know, you can do so many things with one sheet. So things, you can always do cheap things. Okay, now back on topic. It's only been 15 minutes. Okay, so today we're going to do shapes. because, you know, it's nice to have shapes, and we're going to like use them in a couple of different ways too. But, you know, if you don't have, like, you can use a compass to go ahead and draw a circle. Now remember, where this point goes into your fun foam to use it to draw a circle, if you put it right in your fun foam, there will be a dent there, which will leave a mark on your paper. Now, the nice thing about that is if you use this to do a circle and you get that dent in your paper, that will always show you where the center is. There will be a mark where your center is, which is kind of cool because you may want to use that to do some kind of a mandala or something, and you will know just where to start at center. So you can go ahead and you can do a circle like that. You can do a rectangle by just tracing around a rectangle. But you want other shapes, not just squares and circles of different sizes. So, kitty cookie cutters. Well, they don't have to be kitty cookie cutters, but these ones I think were from like Play-Doh when my kids were little. And so you can just take those and give it a good press into the fun foam. And then you can just cut them out. With Christmas coming, I have a Christmas tree here. Oh, hopefully I'll remember. I think I would like to show you how to do like Christmas trees. I don't know how to say it. Like a forest of Christmas trees. So hopefully if I have enough time at the end, I'll be able to show you that. Now this made some little, they have little circles here, so it made little dots on the outside. Now, you could leave those there and cut a little bit wider because that will give you like equal points. So that if you want to draw type thing, go from here to here to here, like that type of thing. You know, or just cut on the line itself. And that's what you're going to do next. You're going to do as many as you want. And I even have some really big. Here's Santa and Mrs. Claus. And these are really big. Now, I personally don't do a lot with big stuff, but that very possibly could be just what you want. And then you stamp it down and you can draw out your Mrs. Claus and Santa Claus. You've got already your background base of color. So you're just going to cut them out and glue them on your cardboard. And then once they're dry, you'll cut the cardboard out and put a tape handle on the back. And then you'll have, now this one is going to be we're going to call it a center dot circle. Because with that compass now we know that that little mark in the middle, which is going to show up when you stamp it, it's going to be like there will be no color there. Wherever there is a dent in your foam, then there will not be ink in that spot. So you're just going to cut these out and then glue them on your paper. I am going to cut this Christmas tree out. We're going to get it glued down to give it a few minutes to for the glue to dry, because I really want to show you how to use a mask to make like a forest of trees. And I'm trying not to get my scissors. Really, you should almost take your scissors right to the point like that, like this, because I don't really want to get a dent where my scissors kind of press into this fun foam, but don't cut it. And if you have some little tiny scissors, they do help to clean up like little corners like that. I'm going to just go like this. And you can get like the scissors in like a cuticle thing at the Dollar Tree, little tiny scissors that really work well for that. So, okay, so here's our Christmas tree. Not perfect because I was in a hurry, but I really do want to get this glued down so that I can show you that. And then we'll cut out that star while it's drying. Let's get this one glued down under the book for a second. And I do like to set something heavy but smooth, because remember, any dents you get on your tree is going to show up. Oh, here we go. And normally I just paint the glue right onto, I don't want to get it on my book, onto the cardboard. It's easier putting the glue on the cardboard than it is putting the glue on the fun stamp. Or the fun foam. I'm just gonna need to come down here just a little bit more. And you'll take your time and make your Christmas tree look a little prettier. This Christmas tree kind of had rounded boughs here or whatever at the end. But I really just thought about the whole like background stamp thing, and I want to show you how to do that. Like I said, I get distracted a little bit when I think about, oh yeah. So I'm going to take this. I'm just going to put it there for a few minutes. And then we'll cut out the star. Where'd the star go? It was here. There it is. But so the thing is that you can make all sorts of shapes and then you can doodle on them. And we've done doodles already. But I do tend to I like to have my shapes because they're just kind of, to me, sometimes I think of them as big and blah. So I do like to have shapes with the doodles on them. It's just a little bit of extra fun or a little extra interest on your project. And see, this is better to do it this way where your point of your scissors just gets right there to the end. Like that. You get a better cut. All right. Now we can just and if it's not perfect, it's not perfect. You can go ahead and work on it, but I'm going to leave it just like that and get a piece of cardboard. I could have just glued it to the other. Will this fit on here? No. They'll both fit on here. I'll be able to glue them both on here. Yes. All right. But the first thing I want to do is I want to doodle on this before I glue it down. Because also the doodle stamps as backgrounds. And now today I am going to use, what do I have here? It's not Stays On, but it's archival ink, which also is a permanent ink. The permanent inks are like chemical based. And so they will pick the ink off of this star probably. Normally I use a roller pen, and you'll hear me say this all the time throughout this series because some people have not seen the earlier videos. If you keep a roller pen that runs out of ink and use that to make your dents, there will be no ink on your paper. Now, I don't mind the ink coming on here, especially now so that you can see what I'm doing. But I do know that if I use a permanent ink, then I know that very possibly the chemicals in there will grab the ink out of my pen here and put it on my project. And really, that looks okay too. So I'm just going to kind of like faux stitch around this one. And then we'll stamp this one. and see what it looks like. Now you could do lots and lots more. Maybe a little bit of a drawn star in the middle. And again, I do these things kind of quick because boy, time flies. And a lot of times I look up and my video is really, really long. And I know that sometimes I like to watch long videos, but also sometimes the long videos are hard to get to upload. And if you hit an hour, sometimes you have a chance of them not uploading at all. This one I got on too different of an angle, so it's going to look really funky. But it is what it is. Like I said, you'll take more time than I am. Once you get the dents in there, you really can't move them. It's not like you can move it over and then erase it like with a pencil. But there is that, and let's put some... We'll put some glue on this cardboard. So I have a whole drawer here full of stamps. So there's letter stamps there, which you do the letter ones. And then remember, when you glue the letters onto your cardboard, remember to glue them on backwards. You want them to look backwards so that when you stamp them, they will be the right way around. I don't know what I did with the lid to my glue. There it is. So, yep, but you can do letters. And these ones are really big letters, but you can do big letters, you can do small letters. But if you're going to do something like a banner or something, sometimes it's nicer to have the bigger letters. So, I got way too much glue on here. But we'll get this on here, and then it's going to take a while to dry. I wanted to show you the star as a layered stamp too. So we're going to put that one there, and we're going to put that one there. I got a couple squares here too. I might as well, while I've got the glued cardboard, I might as well get these ones backed. These squares I use, you can use them as a square. You can cut them on the diagonal and use them as corner stamps. So I'm going to do this. There we go. That's enough on there. I don't like to put it where there's already something there because it could possibly, well, we'll just try it. I don't know if that little bit of raisedness will affect my stamp or not. I always avoid it, so I've never tried it. All right, there we go. So I'm going to take this one and put it in here. Remember, you can doodle on all of these and make all different, those squares were all the same size, but they can all be a totally different stamp. So we are going to, this is still sticky, and normally you should let them, you know, especially when you take a lot of time to make your stamps, like if you've done a doodle and you really have done things to line up, and you know, you've got just the perfect angles on your Christmas tree or whatever, make sure, let them dry overnight. It's very exciting to try them, but you don't want to have a problem and ruin the stamp that you took so much time to make. That's, you know, that's the biggest thing is, you know, you put a lot of time into it. You want to try and be patient so that you get the best stamp that you can get versus using it early and then it gets loose and then, you know, maybe it doesn't stamp as well or whatever. So, but, you know, I'm one to talk because I'm really good at not being patient. There we go. So this is our Christmas tree. Oh, this has a bit of glue on the back. Not from me, but from the box. I didn't notice that. Oh, well. Okay, so now we want to put a handle on it. For a handle, I don't like to have to find the end of my tape, so I always put something on there. Alrighty, so you hold both ends, pinch it together in the middle, let the sides touch, keeping these sticky wings out here. Don't let those touch each other, and then you just take that, put it right on there. And then I'm going to fold that handle back a little bit. And I'll tell you what, going ahead and putting a handle on your stamp saves you so much of a headache. It's too hard with these stamps being this thin to get a hold of them and press them down and not get your fingers in the ink when you're doing your ink pad, and then get that ink on your project. So make sure you do a handle, because now your fingers aren't anywhere near where the ink is going to be or your paper. So I did grab some paper. Here it is. I'm gonna say, where's my paper? Okay, so we are going to start out by making a mask, and I always use trying to say I have a little piece here. Always use copy paper for my masks. I never use anything like cardstock. And I learned the reason that I don't use cardstock is because the cardstock is too thick. It doesn't seem like it. And, you know, in the beginning, I thought, well, cardstock would make the best mask, because the cardstock is thicker. Like, it will last me forever, because it's, you know, it's a lot thicker than just plain old copy paper. Well, it is thicker than the copy paper, but when you go to press down next to your mask, that cardstock being thicker than the copy paper, and you want to cut really right on your edges. You want to do your best with this one. Try and get really close. Don't cut off too much, and don't leave too much extra, because you want your mask to be perfect. And you do keep these. You use them over and over again. So take your time, just like your stamps. You're going to use those stamps a lot. You may make one or two every so often that you don't like, but usually you figure out something that you'll want to do with it. So we're just going to get this one, and I'm going to do one more. I want to have two of them. Might even need more at some point, but to show you, I think I can do it with just two. What I'm thinking about doing a forest. Now, granted, we've got the wrong color ink, and I didn't bring any green ink out here, so that just kind of is what it is, but should have hopefully enough ink on here to get, oh, maybe not, it might be dry. Nope, that works. Okay, so we'll get this, I'm going to put this mask right up here so I don't lose it. I tend to kind of brush everything just aside, and then it's like, oh, what did I do with that piece I just cut? But masking is really fun, and once you get used to it, it takes a little getting used to, remembering that whatever you're masking is going to be in the front of whatever you're stamping. That was the thing, you know, like, I think in the beginning, I think I made a note on my masks that said this is the front, because, like, you'll see what I mean by in the front, but we're going to do a whole forest of trees. So you've got the trees that are closest to you, and then the trees get further and further away. And I just used to, like, have such a hard time wrapping my head around the fact of the first thing I stamped is going to be in the front, not in the back. And that's what masking does for you. But once you get used to it, it's really fun to play with. All right. So we are just going to have our masks. And you can put a little piece of tape on the back to hold it. And I like regular Scotch tape for that. Here we go. because it's thinner than the masking tape. And don't put a big, huge thickness because it will bump up your stamp. But if you put it right in the middle, it's really the edges of the mask that are being used to a certain extent. So it doesn't make a big difference. But I just, a lot of time, and a matter of fact, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to cut it in half. I just want something, and I'm also going to do this. I need to make it not as sticky because I don't want to stick my masks to my paper and have them not come off or have them rip my paper. So go ahead and make it like low-tack tape. This is how you make low-tack tape. You can buy low-tack tape, and really you can take this and stick it like on your t-shirt, one side, the other side, and it picks up the lint off your t-shirt, and it's very less sticky. So I'm going to do that with this one too. And really you only need the outside to be low-tack. The side that touches your mask can be regular, because you want that to stick to your mask. Okay, so here we're going to go. We're going to make a little forest of trees here with turquoise ink because it's what I have out. But this way you will get the gist of what we're doing. So I'm going to take this one. We're going to put it right here. So this would be cute like for a Christmas card or for some kind of a Christmas art project. Now, we have more ink on here, so I think what I'm going to try is I'm going to make the next one just a little bit lighter. So I'm putting my mask on the tree that's already there, and the trees behind usually get a little bit taller. So that one did not, and usually if you cut your stamps real close to your cardboard, or if you cut your cardboard really close to your stamps, sometimes you can line them up. I try not to line up, half to restamp, but sometimes you just have to. Okay, so now I'm going to, because I want them to kind of lighten up as we go back, so I'm putting the ink on here, but then I'm going to stamp off. So I'm going to hold that there. I'm just going to come over here on this side, give it a bit of a stamp, and then come back. Make sure that this is lined up. And I'm going to put one here. Okay, so now we've got those three. Now we're going to put maybe a couple more back there. So we're going to take our second stamp and put it on top of here, because I want another tree right here. Now, depending on how big my tree is, I have to see if I stamp this here. Okay, I want to make sure that this side of the stamp right here does not go off of this Christmas tree, that it doesn't go off this mask. I need to make sure that everything is covered that's not going to be part of my tree back there. So again, I am going to stamp off, because, and the thing is, you can stamp off on paper that you then will cut that out and put it in your ephemera box. So I'm going to line this up, making sure that this Christmas tree is on top of the masks. And so now this one should be behind the others. Remember, every time you do it and put more masks on, you're moving further backwards. Okay, so one more time. And you can do this all the way across your paper and as far back as you want to. I'm just showing you how to do it. And the more that you have on here, the more masks you may need to make sure that everything is covered. Okay, I'm going to take this one. Oops, I need a mask over here. I almost messed that up. Come on. And I think I'm going to put this one. Oh, I need to mask. I need to mask the tree. See, this is where like you have to kind of like wrap your head around it. So mask what's already there. And this one is masked too. I'm going to move this one over this way a little bit. Like that. And now as we take these off, we need another one here. So we're going to put these back on here and do one more here. And I need to make sure that I don't go on top of that tree, which, where's the one? I'm going to cut one more mask really quick because I really do have a feeling that this is going to touch that tree. And that's the thing, you know, like once you get these masks done, you can use them over and over again. So just keep them with your stamp, and then you'll always have them. And this is even something that you can do when you're making your stamps, is that you can stamp some on a full-size sheet of paper and then sit in the evening when you're sitting and watching TV and just cut the masks out. See this one I said go ahead and keep it to use it as ephemera. I could throw that right in my ephemera box, and now I've got a Christmas tree that I can doodle on and use on a card or something like that. So I'm going to put this one here. I don't have tape on the back, so I'm going to be careful that it doesn't move on me. And I need to stamp off. But these would be cute. These little Christmas trees would be cute to put on a little Christmas tags. Just stamp them and cut it out and put your to and from on there. All right, so I'm going to put this one here. I have masks on all three of these, so I don't want to touch that one. It doesn't have a mask. I'm going to put this one right there. And I might even want one more right back there. So if I move this mask over here and I'm going to go ahead and try it really, really light. Oops, that one needs a mask. And this mask is already here, so I think I'm good here. And I might have enough color on this, I might not. But we'll see, because the further back they get, they're kind of getting like foggy as they go back. Okay. So there we go. This is kind of the gist of a forest. You have your tree in the front, and actually it looks like it's a little hard to see in the camera. I'm not so sure how well you can see it. But let's see. I have a pencil or something. So with that being our tree, these ones, oh, maybe like, so that I don't totally mess it up. This might work. Let's try putting in the green here. And just paying attention to where they stop. But this is just a really fun way to, I need to show you too, at some point I'll show you how to do reflective images too, because that's another fun one to do. But so, yep, these trees just continue to go behind and behind the others. And got one here, which also comes here and here. But anyways, you get the gist of it. It would have been better if I had the right color green and the right stamp pad that maybe worked a little bit better, but there. Now you can actually see where the lines are though. See, this tree is in the front, and then this tree and this tree are behind it. This tree's behind that one. That tree is behind that one and that one. That tree's behind that one, and this one is behind all of them. So that's how you do like your stamping to get it to move back. But this is just a little light and being in a hurry. But it's still, once we put the lines on there, you can really see how that works. So masking is fun. And that's how you can do that. So we're getting real close to the end. Let's see. Okay, these are not dry yet, so we're really not going to get to look at those. But again, like take the star, stamp it right in the middle of your paper, then get a mask, and then you can stamp around it. And then more masks to continue. I'm going to put this book back on here. I do have some more shapes here. So here are a bunch of shapes that I got. Got them for $1 at a garage sale. And I got all these shapes. And now I still have all these shapes to still play with. But I went ahead and made some shape, glued down some shape stamps. And you can like glue them down and cut them out individually so that you have individual stamps. You can glue them down like on a whole sheet like this, which I do this because it's just easier. Get them all glued down, let them sit under a book, and then go back in and cut them all off. But afterwards I thought that might be actually a pretty cool background stamp, so I might leave that one together. And then doodle stamps. Remember, now no matter what size these are little, but you can do it on all of your bigger stamps also. And I really like to do it on like my bigger circles and my bigger squares because I like to have different sizes, but sometimes to me a great big square or a great big circle is just too, it's just too like right there. So doodling on it a little bit makes it, more pleasant for me to look at. I enjoy working with it more if it has just something to it versus just this great big blob of a circle or a square. Sometimes you need those though, so it doesn't hurt to have a regular circle, a regular square, and then however many doodle ones. Because that's the thing, you doodle one circle and then you think, okay, I have a doodle circle, but like this doodle circle has lines on it. You could do a doodle circle with swirls on it, polka dots on it, like so many different things. There's so many ways to just doodle that, you can have a ton of stamps with your doodles on them, and they're all different. So let's see how these little doodle shapes look. And trying to think if I think that I really do want to just leave that one. Okay. This paper has gone all the way through with the green, so we need another one. One, two, three, four. And quickly I don't think we're going to do the background stamp. You can get the gist of what it would look like, except the 5 would be the right way around. I want to see how these ones look. It's always exciting to find out after you get your doodle done how it looks. But, and I haven't got to see them yet, so I want to do these ones. And then that's a decision. If I stamp the whole thing on my paper as a background stamp and I don't like it, well then I can go in and just cut them all into individual stamps. Doodle on some. I think I did like 2 or 3 of each shape. So that I could doodle on some and then just have one regular. So there's that one and that one. 2 more quick. So I hope that you're enjoying this series. Again, if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to ask. So I have been making handmade stamps for, I don't know, a long time, 10, 20 years. I have a lot of them. I've given a lot of them away. So I've done sets and sold them before. Just, I just really like doing them. So, it is something that I think I will do for a really long time. But if it's something you don't like, then you don't like it. That's the whole thing. You just need to find in crafting, creating, whatever you want to call it. You need to find what it is that you like. Not what your best friend likes, not what I like. but what you like, whatever you enjoy doing, and then that's what you do. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to have a coughing fit now. Oh, try and take a drink of my cold coffee, see if that helps. All right, let's see what these look like. A few doodle stamps, and then I think we're done for today. So, but these are just fun. And with the amount of fun you can get out of a very cheap sheet of fun foam, is just a nice inexpensive way. Regular paper, you can do it on book pages, on old books that are going to be thrown away. You know, when I first started crafting and people were using books, I was just like, oh my gosh, how could they do that? I do it now. I know how they can do it too, because it's actually quite cool. And there are so many books out there that are getting ready to be thrown into the landfill. People don't even hardly read a book anymore. They read on their like Kindles and stuff. So trying to like not reveal those until we got them all done. So, you know, so the thing is that yes, you are cutting apart a book, which is, I've loved books all my life. So in the beginning it was a little bit hard, but if it's going to get thrown away, if the book is already ruined, so many children's books, which have really cute illustrations and stuff in them, are so scribbled up and everything, nobody's going to buy them for their child. Nobody's, you know, at the secondhand store. But like, I may like the font of the words. The words are bigger. The pictures are cool, but nobody's going to buy them. They are literally going to go in the trash. So why not buy them for $1 and cut them up and give them a whole new life? Well, there we go. They were revealed. So those are really cute. I like them. This is my favorite, I think. I like that one really too. These two are okay. I don't dislike them, but I think those are my favorites. So there we go. And now I cut those out. And I have this little thing here. There's last week's. There's a small corner from last week's video. And on this one right here, as I was cutting it out, I got this far and that was left. And I thought, I'm going to leave that on there because I think I'm going to turn that into a chimney and make it into a house. So, but I just cut out all of my shapes. We've got some of our tickets here and different types of shapes. I cut them out and just throw them into this. And that's what I will do with these. I'll just cut them out and put them in here. So it's nice to have a few. And if you're going to like maybe do some Christmas cards where you want to glue some things onto the front of a card, you can go ahead and stamp a bunch of them, again, like I said, and then just sit down and cut them out in the evening when you have time. So, but there we go. I think that today's stamps turned out really well. And I hope that you like the, I know that it, I sometimes have to do things kind of fast. So, you know, the whole forest background is not the most perfect one I've ever done. But I think that it's a really fun way to do it. And like I said, you could start with like the star, put it right in the middle, then put a mask on it and do stars all the way around. If they're going to overlap, then you're going to want to stamp this one and put a mask on it and then stamp the next one. You should have a mask in the middle and a mask here. So you stamp here, and then when you go to do this one, you're going to need a mask here, but you can move this one over because this stamp is not going to touch over here. So, you know, you don't have to, if you're going to wind up doing 20 of them or something around the edges, you're not going to have 20 masks. You only have to have a mask in the area where your stamp is going to overlap. So when this tree, I needed this one covered so that this wouldn't touch it. But when I did this one, it was going to touch both of these. So I needed a mask on both of those. That's just the way that you work at. So thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.